Oh, hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's Global Pandemic Show. My name is Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this weekly conversation around various aspects of the pandemic. We have gone to more than 22 countries during these last 18 months and these last 290 episodes. But this is the first time we're going to hear directly about what's happening in Vietnam. At the start of the pandemic, Vietnam's response was among the most effective in the world. Now with Delta, it's struggling as never before. Maximum lockdowns, lack of vaccines, and other issues have inflicted major pain across the country. The Duy Vo Fundraiser is raising funds for Vietnam in partnership with Vietnamese food makers, creatives, and entrepreneurs in New York City and across the US. Please check out the website. You can see it there, dum-boc.com. We're very excited to introduce you in a few minutes to two wonderful guests. Hoang is joining us, a reporter at Nikkei Asia based in Ho Chi Minh City. And Duy Vo is with us, architectural designer at Hart Howerton and co-organizer of this important fundraiser. You'll meet them in just a couple of minutes. Hi, everybody. I'm Sree. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at the Stony Brook School of Communication and Journalism, and the co-founder of Digimentors, the company that brings you this show. We produce shows like this for other companies, other folks, individuals. We also do virtual events, conferences, events big and small, and would love to talk to you about working on your event. Our website is digimentors.group, or you can just email me, Sree@digimentors.group or Sree@Sree.net. If you've never seen this show, we've done more than 289 episodes. This is the 289th. And we've had 545 guests, including 311 women. And today we raised that number by one more. And guests from, I guess, now 76 cities in 23 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We do this in partnership with Scroll Global and Scroll.in. Our archives are at youtube.com/Sreenet. We're able to do this because of our wonderful producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. They're live tweeting. Please follow them. And we'd love to talk to you about speaker suggestions, sponsor suggestions. Get cracking and talk to us when you can. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Please tag your friends. Please share this right now with someone who would want to hear this important global conversation. And as always, we want to hear from you. How are you doing? What are you thinking about? Please post in the comments, and we'd love to talk to you and hear your thoughts as well. So with that, I'm going to bring on screen our guests, Duy Vo and Hoang, and they're going to tell us how they're doing and give us a sense of what's happening in Vietnam. As always, please stay safe and please look for the most accurate, helpful information you can. And with that, let me say hello to our guests.
Hi.
Hi. Great to see you. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. Truly appreciate you. My first question to all our guests always is, how are you? Where are you? And how have you been handling the pandemic? Let's start with Duy, who is coming to us, I believe, from New York City.
Hi, everyone. My name is Duy. I'm currently in New York City. I've been in New York City for the last 8 years. And my hometown is in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. This pandemic has been pretty interesting, to say the least. I'm currently, in New York, so we're not experiencing too much of a spike in terms of COVID. There is a little bit of a spike, but the peak had already gone past. And, at the same time, Vietnam is still experiencing sort of its peak. So there's a lot of emotions happening at the moment. It's certainly a really taxing roller coaster of emotion in the last 2 years. Just having to experience the peak of COVID in basically two parts of the world, one directly and one remotely. So.
Well, but I'm so grateful that you're okay and you're your family here is okay. You'll tell us more about your connections with Vietnam and all of that as we go forward. But let's hear from Lien Hoang. Lien is live in Ho Chi Minh City, where it's 9 p.m. here. There, it's 8 a.m.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm here at home in Saigon, and it's getting better. We have had one of the strictest lockdowns in the world in the past few months, but you're sort of getting me at a better time because this morning I just got to go work out with my friends for the first time in months because we weren't allowed to really go outside at all until this past Friday. And the great news is in the time between when Sree and Duy and I started planning this and today, I finally got my second shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine. And that has been a big deal here in Vietnam for a while. Like a lot of countries, we were really just struggling to get vaccines from foreign companies. And so I was really feeling fortunate to be able to get that. And we really ramped up the vaccination campaign. You know, we went from basically 0 to 70% of people being able to get at least one shot in the city in the past couple months. And so things are looking a little better. I'm happy to be able to go swimming again, start to see friends, even go to the grocery store. So that has been just a small little freedom, but it's been a nice change from months of not having any in-person meetings, any events, even going to the store, as I said.
That must have been so rough, but I'm glad you got some exercise today and you got out there. We should tell everyone that I've known you since you were a undergrad student at Columbia University, and we got to work together, and we've been friends and colleagues for years. And you're obviously of Vietnamese origin, but you grew up in America, and then you decided you always wanted to be a foreign correspondent in Vietnam and elsewhere, and you made that happen.
Yeah, Sree, you were there from the beginning, helping me get my journalism chops back at the J School, even though I was still an undergrad and just working. But after that, I did continue into an actual journalism career. And so I've been a foreign correspondent here in Saigon for getting close to a decade now. And as you said, I work for Nikkei Asia here in Saigon for covering mostly business, but also social issues and some environmental as well, of course, all of which has been affected by the pandemic. And it's quite a unique vantage point to be here, just because there are so few foreign correspondents in Saigon. I'm probably the longest serving since the Vietnam War, just because most of the reporters are based in Hanoi up north. And it's just an ever-changing time for journalism. So we're getting quite a front seat here in Saigon.
Well, I'm so proud of everything you've done, and being able to tell the story of your family's country is, I'm sure, very meaningful and special to you. And I can't believe you've done it for almost a decade. Well, let's talk about why we're all here. And Yoo-e is going to tell us about a very important fundraiser that he is part of and why it exists. I'll show the website, and you can see the address right on the screen. It's dum-boc.com, and even the name is poetic, and it means something special. So please start there.
Yeah, thank you, Sree. As Sree mentioned, I'm organizing a fundraiser based in New York with my partner, Thao, and we're calling our fundraiser Đùm Bọc. The name itself means to protect with love and to care for. It stemmed from a Vietnamese proverb. It's lá lành đùm lá rách. It means healthy leaf, protect tather leaf. And it's one of the core tenets in our Vietnamese culture. It suggests that, we should always protect the unfortunate, the less fortunate folks. And so this fundraiser is a direct response to the COVID outbreak, the fourth wave in Vietnam. And we're just hoping to raise as much funds as possible for the folks in Vietnam. And the two nonprofit organizations that we're raising the funds for are Saigon Children and the Catalyst Foundation, both of whom have been working in Vietnam for 20 plus years. They're very involved in community building, especially in impoverished communities as well as disadvantaged communities in rural Vietnam. But recently, because of COVID, they switched over to providing food relief for families and young children. And so for them, right now we're halfway through. The fundraiser is from September 19 to October 21, but we're recently just extended our fundraiser for one more week, and we'll be ending on October 24th. And there are 3 ways that you can participate in this program. So you can obviously donate directly to us. And there's a means to do that as well on our website. But one of the most exciting program that we offer is the food component. And we believe that food is the ultimate language of love and care for Vietnamese people. And so we want to basically every week bring to you different dishes, Vietnamese dishes cooked by various Vietnamese people in the diaspora, especially in New York City. And every weekend you'll have the opportunities to taste something that cannot be found in restaurants, something that is warming and very, very hard to find. So we work with various different home cooks and chefs to come up with exciting menus every weekend. So you can participate on that via our website, and we announce our menu every week on our Instagram. And then for the giveaway, we also work with various different Vietnamese entrepreneurs and creators. And every week we make sure to provide different giveaways for people to participate in. And you can make a donation of $10 minimum, and you can enter the giveaway for a chance to win some of the really exciting products, as well as things that a lot of these different entrepreneurs offer. So,
well, that's great. Now, tell us about this idea of the pre-order versus when it closes, how it happens, because some people might be confused by that. And if I'm just watching, I see a donate button, so they can just donate directly, and that money goes to charity to help people in Vietnam. But tell us about this food component and what should I do? So today is Tuesday night in America. By Thursday, what do I have to do?
So for the pre-order, the idea behind it is to make sure that we can accommodate the food makers that work with us. And not everyone can have the ability to make a lot of meals. And we definitely want to make sure that whatever people are cooking is special and comes in a limited amount. And so we want to basically have a pre-order system where we announce our menu for the week on Sunday. And then people will come to our Instagram to see the menu. If it's of interest to them, they then go to our website, and there should be a pre-order form that you can fill out. And then once you're done filling out, then you can pick up the food the next Sunday. So there's that process. But the thing is, we have been very fortunate. We've been selling out all of our dishes almost immediately. So the first week, it took us about 2 days to sell out. And then the second week, we sold out in about 6 hours. And then this most recent week, we sold out in about 12 hours or so. So, there's definitely a lot of demand. And we're, again, very fortunate that people have been so incredibly supportive. And so,
So just to understand, you're already sold out for this week.
Yep.
Okay, so you were just teasing us with that. So, we're very happy for you, and I can see that the different creators got to choose what they're doing and putting that together. So that's also a showcase for the Vietnamese community and the enterprising nature of the folks who live and work across America. So next week, if they want to get involved, they need to go to dumboc-boc.com early, right, on Sunday or Monday.
And follow us on Instagram for.
Okay, so follow you on Instagram. The handle there is DUMBOC, correct?
DUM_BOC.
Terrific. So everybody do that. Then don't lose out like I just did today. I also want to use this as a chance to talk a little bit about Vietnam in the news. For a country that was involved in a major war in Vietnam just 40 years ago, 45 years ago, America knows very little about Vietnam. I think it'd be fair to say, unfortunately. And I, think about how all the news stories about Afghanistan had so much coverage of Vietnam or talking about Vietnam and reminding people of Saigon and the helicopter taking off and all of that. So I want to first ask Lien about that, about living and growing up here and having so little about Vietnam in the news over those years, maybe an occasional story about a POW or, something like that, but very little coverage. And then because of how America's involved in Afghanistan ended, that comparison. So Lien, let's hear your thoughts.
Sure. That is part of the reason I wanted to work here. Is I think that there are tons of fascinating and untold stories happening in Vietnam that, of course, kind of get lost in the noise. And growing up in the US, of course, I knew a lot of this myself already, but it's changed so much coming back. So I think, yes, the story of Vietnam has been the Vietnam War for decades. And even today in 2021, that's the story. If you get Google alerts for Vietnam like I do, for a while it'll be some international business deal or diplomatic visit. But obviously, when the U.S. withdrew from Kabul, all the Google alerts about Vietnam were the comparison between the fall of Saigon in 1975 and the fall of Kabul. And just coincidentally, Kamala Harris came to visit Hanoi the week after. And so it couldn't have been more of a poignant timing, I think. And, she was sort of understanding that, of course, everyone would be making the comparisons between Vietnam and Afghanistan. But she also made history in other ways. She was the first U.S. vice president ever to visit Vietnam while in office post-war. And it really underscores the way the relationship has changed between the two countries. There are people like me who have come back to Vietnam, moved here and made a life here. And we're really only able to do so because the country has totally transformed. I don't think that you could paint a more dramatic metamorphosis in the way Vietnam has changed itself, in the way that its relationship with the U.S. has changed. It's so odd to, on the one hand, think about having fought a war decades ago, and now I don't think there are many countries that love the U.S. as much as Vietnam does. Every public opinion poll we ever have coming out of Vietnam, people are so enamored with American culture and going to study in the U.S. Vietnam sends more students to go study at Columbia and at other universities than any other country in Southeast Asia, for example. And people are very surprised by that. When Americans come here, they're shocked by how warmly they're greeted. And I think that's partly just, I mean, it's a mix of factors. One is the way history is taught here, of course, although Vietnam uh, describes itself winning in the war, it also doesn't make a point of criticizing the US itself. And also, they're just pragmatic. I mean, Vietnam depends on sending exports to the US more than any other market. And they want to have this strong partner around the Pacific. And so those are some of the factors going into why the relationship has changed so much. And also just Vietnam as a country has changed so much. Back when we were able to travel, if I left Saigon for a week and came back, there'd be a new business on my street. There'd be some change already. Even in the few years that I've lived here, it's a really big difference, which is part of the fun of living here as well. That dynamic buzz you always have in these big mega cities. We're up to 10 million, although you can relate to that, I guess, in New York.
Yeah, we can, and of course, my family's from India, so we can relate to that. Just showing people where you are in relation to places they might know a little bit better, including Thailand and the Philippines. You can see Taiwan there, and there's Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, and of course there was North Vietnam and South Vietnam, and and then the names changed, of course, as well. So just one point, just to note, there have been historically countries that were at kind of war with America, not kind of actual war with America, war to the death. If you think of Germany and you think of Japan, and then they become great partners and among the best allies and friends of America. And Vietnam is already in that direction and had been for a long time. Why did it take so long for a vice president to visit Vietnam?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. I'm not sure why it didn't rise to the level of consciousness of thinking, we should have someone visit. There have been tons of other high level visits, though. Obviously when Bill Clinton came in the 90s, that was monumental because the embargo was lifted. People were lining the streets to see him. But ever since then, I think all the other presidents have come. Bush, Obama, Trump even came twice. And one of my most fun memories was covering the Obama visit back in 2015. It was truly treated like a rock star. Mm-hmm. And he had all these events in both Hanoi and Saigon, obviously doing his political duties, meeting the Communist Party and other government officials, but also just having a town hall with young people. There was a rapper there. There were environmental activists, and so it was really a fun time, actually. And so obviously locals love to have that kind of interaction, and just at the highest level, there is a lot of bilateral interaction.
Sure. I want to bring back yoo-e to talk to us about, we talked about food. So let's just take a look at something that ties all of this together. And this is an image from Anthony Bourdain's show that you will know. I remember what a big deal it was for me to see this and to think about the arc of history. And of course, we lost Anthony soon after that, and all of that. But how big a deal was this in Vietnam when this happened? And I'm curious in terms of how you even think about this. So yoo-e, if you want to just talk about this image and what this did for just raising the consciousness of Vietnamese food, for example, in America.
I think this So I wasn't in Vietnam at the time. So I obviously personally I don't know the type of impact that it had. But for me, when this took place, it was very special because Anthony Bourdain was and still is my personal hero. And so when I saw this image, to me, Vietnamese food for the first time got the well-deserved visibility. For the first time, people know of Vietnam more than just a country that was once in a war with the U.S. and there was more to it. And and a lot of the time, people who are fans of all of Anthony Bourdain's shows know that Anthony whenever he goes to a country, he dives deeper into the food, but also bring out some of the more interesting conversation about politics and all of that. So I think like when this happened, it's really just brought Vietnamese food to the forefront more, and all of a sudden people are they become curious about Vietnamese foods, like, oh, what is this dish, why are they eating like that? And there were questions about the restaurants and the type of settings that they were eating in, and all of a sudden curiosity was generated just outside of the typical preconceived notion of what Vietnam is and has been in the history. And so I think this is a good stepping stone for us to become more visible in America, as a ethnic group, if you will.
Sure. Let's remind everyone that we are talking about the big fundraiser that's being organized called the Dum Bok Fundraiser, DUM-BOC. You see it on your screen right now. And it's a way for you to support charities that are helping the folks under lockdown in Vietnam, where they had a very good start to the pandemic, relatively speaking, but then things went bad and now they're starting to get better. But you can help donate by going to dum-boc.com or follow them on Instagram. DUM_BOC is the Instagram handle, and they would love to get donations. If you can't join their food, there's a food special where you can get special foods that you don't normally get in restaurants that are being cooked by creatives. It's really fun, but you have to follow the Instagram to understand that and get that. It's got about another 2 weeks to go of this fundraiser. So definitely check that out. And we're so grateful to our guests for being here with us. You see on the screen yoo-e, who is an architectural designer and the co-organizer of the Dum Bok fundraiser, and also Lien Hoang, who's a reporter at Nikkei Asia, and she's based in Ho Chi Minh City. And she tells me that she has been there for almost a decade, which I find very hard to believe because I've known her since she was a college student at Columbia, and I was a professor at Columbia Journalism School. Let's take a look at some of the comments that have come in. Jonathan Borstein, who is watching in the East Village, has watched 290 episodes in these 18 months. I'm so grateful to him. He's a friend. He's been a guest. He's been a host. Really so thrilled to have Jonathan always supporting us. And Sharif watched and says, great program. Learned a lot about the current situation in Vietnam and the way it is tackling the pandemic. So you have done good service, both of you already. We just have a few minutes left. Jonathan has a question for you. How does Vietnam feel about France? So Vietnam loves America is what Lien told us. So talk to us about France, Lien.
Yes, I think the cultural awareness is not as aware or not as high as in your face, but generally Vietnamese do feel positively toward the French, despite being a French colony for about 100 years. And I think that just sort of fits into this pattern of Vietnamese, for the most part. There are some notable exceptions. For the most part, trying to move past some ugly history and focusing on what opportunities lie ahead. But you also see a lot of French influence here. Of course, the the food, the vocabulary even is drawn from French. And there are a lot of.
Can you give us a couple of examples of vocabulary? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Like Vietnamese would call a tie a cravate, similar to the French. I've even heard that pho, the national dish, I've heard that comes from the French sort of beef noodle dish as well, because I think feuille means fire or something like that in French. And sabon is soap here. The banh mi is taken from pain. So there's tons.
Oh, really? So the banh mi, which is of course very famous as one of the national dishes of Vietnam, that the origin of the PAN from bread, PAIN from bread, right? The au bon pain, like
exactly.
Pan. So that's interesting. Jonathan says architecture as well as the French influence in Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by French villas still.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add on that, yoo-e?
I think Lien covered pretty much everything. I guess one more thing I'd like to add, though, is that Vietnam, as a country, we're kind of moving away from some of the colonialism in the past, and sadly, the architecture, the French inspired, the French colonialist architecture is not well preserved, and so that is definitely going away, in a very unfortunate fashion. A lot of the buildings just don't get the preservation that they deserve, but it's definitely. France definitely has a really big influence, and a lot of it, like Lien said, it's not in your face. It's all kind of already baked into our culture since we were a colony for over 100 years. So,
yeah, that's obviously part of the history that makes parts of the world so interesting, complicated, fascinating. You can pick the words you like. So, just a few more minutes left. I'd like to ask each of you. What are some things that you are looking forward to, for Vietnam as things get better? Hopefully, they sound to me, Lien, that they're on the right track at least now. What has Vietnam lost in these last 18 months that you hope in the next 6 months to a year will get better?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little of the before and after. So, as you said, in 2020, Vietnam was one of the best performing countries in terms of pandemic response. There were 35 deaths total at that time. And we were kind of enjoying life here. We were kind of feeling like the pandemic was something else out there that other people were dealing with. So it was not really until this year, with the spread of the Delta variant, that we truly experienced the lowest lows of the pandemic, including having the economy contract for the first time, which is obviously a huge deal in a fast-growing, developing country, where economic growth is one of the big drivers of people's improvements in daily lives. And so the past quarter especially has been the toughest. As we've talked about, a lot of people have been out of work, millions losing the kind of factory jobs that really helped pull Vietnamese into the middle class. And like a lot of places, Vietnam's economy depends a lot on people migrating from the countryside into the cities, into the industrial zones to take up jobs. And when the businesses were shut down because of COVID, all these people were stuck here, not able to go to their hometowns. As I said, it was one of the strictest lockdowns because you couldn't even go from province to province. There were checkpoints and just thousands of people on their motorbike trying to get out of the city. And so they've been stuck here, no work and no savings. And so they're obviously the hardest hit. And so now that we're starting to reopen again, it's sort of it's still very precarious. I think you've heard about in the US the dilemma people have, right? Of they have been out of work, but they're also not going back to the same jobs that they had before. And the people are feeling a similar dilemma here where they do need to go back to work. But what if another lockdown hits? And so they'll be stranded again. And so that's why some of them feel better to just leave their jobs and go to the countryside to be with their families, at least. But as I said, it's just in this past week or so that people have been able to reopen factories here in the South. The North has been a little better. People were able to live mostly normally in a lot of places up there. But down South, we are reopening. Just the fact that I was able to go buy some hutio noodles this morning was a big change because restaurants had been closed. And so just having the freedom to get takeout food and go out again is an important sign also, because authorities were so strict. The fact that they are allowing this means that they have some degree of confidence that we were able to get enough people vaccinated, enough of the case numbers reduced, that we can start to figure out a new way to interact, to kind of live with the virus, as a lot of countries are deciding to do now. And so that means it'll just be a slow reopening where more and more businesses will be coming back, but it'll still be months before you're going to see more people thriving. Schools are still closed, for example, and I'm sure it'll be a long time before we really feel normal again. I don't know when restaurants will reopen, events will be happening again. But it's definitely a more optimistic week than it had been for months.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And thank you for that wonderful briefing of where we are. Folks, that's Lien Hoang. She's at Lien H on Twitter. Please do follow her. She's a reporter joining us live from Ho Chi Minh City. And you can follow her on Twitter and you can see her stories on Nikkei Asia. Thank you very much, Lien. And we wish you the very best. And thank you for joining us early. I'm sure you're ready for a day of reporting after this. Let's go to Duy Vo, who's going to talk to us about what he's hopeful for Vietnam. And one more time, he's going to tell us about the Dumbok fundraiser as well. That address is on the screen, dum-boc.com. Everybody, please go there, make a donation, support this important venture.
Yeah, so what I am hopeful for is for folks, especially folks in disadvantaged and impoverished community of Vietnam's can get relief. They're the much deserved relief. I know that Lien mentioned that people are more optimistic and that Saigon has slowly reopened. But as someone who has family over there, I remain very cautious because at the end of the day, the national vaccination rate in Vietnam is still below 10%, and there is a very long road ahead in terms of recovery, and there will be a lot of people who need a lot of help, and right now they're not receiving as much relief as they should. And so, with Duy Vo, I'm just hoping that we can raise as much fund as possible to help those who need the relief. And if any one of you who's watching can join in with us on this effort, definitely go follow us on Instagram at dum_boc. DUM_BOC. You can either participate in our food program, or you can enter our giveaway program. Or if all of this is too complicated for you, there's an option to donate directly. And so we're just, and any help at this point will be tremendous for people in Vietnam.
And of course, the money goes further there too, right? So that's
absolutely. And just to give an example, $10 in the U.S. can sustain a person for about 2 weeks, depending on where you are. In some communities, that $10 can go for a month. So it's it's a lot of a U.S. dollars can stretch very far in Vietnam. So and any help that you can provide at this point will be tremendous to a lot of people that are absolutely in dire need in Vietnam. So
thank you. And can you last thing, talk about the Saigon Children and the Catalyst Foundation, why you chose those two and what they do. And again, folks, go to dum-boc.com and you can make a donation to PayPal or Venmo. Just to show everybody how simple it is, I just made a modest donation while you were speaking, just to test it out. So it was that easy. And I use the PayPal function, which takes another extra step compared to Venmo. So you can even be faster. Everybody, you heard what $10 can do. So please do make a donation and tell us about these two organizations.
Yeah. So thank you, Sree, for making the donation. Much appreciated. So Saigon Children and Catalyst Foundation are two nonprofit organizations working in Vietnam for the last 20 plus years. Saigon Children is a British nonprofit group. They work predominantly in Saigon area, specifically with children of families in impoverished communities in Saigon. They do also have program catered to children in different provinces. And they have some very exciting very robust program that help children with, providing them with resources for them to go to schools and to help the families. So recently, because of COVID, they switched completely over to food relief. And something that is really interesting about Saigon Children is that they're also focusing on the mental health aspect of the children who are affected by the lockdown. So they have a program where they send the relief backpack. In each backpack, they provide not only food but also books and games for the children to have, so they can kind of have an active days, at home while being under lockdown. And recently, they started another program raising funds for the recently orphaned children of Saigon. In the last month or so, there have been about 1,500 orphans because of COVID. And so they're raising funds to support those children as well. For Catalyst Foundation, they're a much smaller nonprofit group, and they're working with very specific communities. They work with a lot of ethnic minority communities in various parts of Vietnam. And currently they're working with an ethnic minority group called Rak Lai in Sui Da, which is in a hamlet between Phan Rang and Kinh Giang, which is in the south of Vietnam, south central. And they're providing just basic necessity for the community there, and also help them, giving them the resources and the lessons to help them build the communities. And their ultimate goal is to provide enough guidance so that these communities themselves can fend against child trafficking, which is an issue that very rampant in various parts of Vietnam, especially in the rural areas. And so recently they're switching over to food relief, and so for the communities, because they're so poor, they don't really have social distancing, and they're just not clean water, no electricity, and so we're hoping to provide as much relief as possible for them. And this is the community that $10 can actually sustain a person for a month. So again, your US dollars definitely goes a very long way for a lot of folks in various parts of Vietnam. So
Thank you very much. So grateful to both of you for your time. Yoo-e, thank you. Duy Vo is architectural designer here in New York. And thank you very much for taking the time and for sharing the work that you're doing. And everybody go to dum-boc.com, make a donation. Every little dollar helps. And people are watching this live. They'll also be watching this on recording after many months. So even if you missed the fundraiser, you can always make a donation. So please do that. And Lien, Hoang, thank you to both of you for being with us. Before I say goodbye to everybody, I just want to tell you about a couple of other shows that we have coming up. And I have another show where I read the Sunday New York Times out loud. And our guests this coming week, it's called the New York Times Read Along, are two Broadway folks who are going to join us, a Broadway producer and technical manager, Chris Smith, and Nancy Ringham Smith, who's a Broadway actor, singer, who's been in My Fair Lady opposite Rex Harrison, Will Rogers Follies opposite Mac Davis, and so much more. 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Sundays and available on all social platforms. Please check that out. And also our producer, Rose Horowitz, has another show called Women to Follow and a hashtag Women to Follow. And it is a story of overcoming adversity and advancing medical research. Dr. Cassandra Quave, who's the author of The Plant Hunter and an ethnobotanist, will join Rose on Wednesday, October 13th. So you don't want to miss that at 8 p.m. Eastern. So with that, I'm going to thank our guests. And one more time, dum-boc.com. Go and support this great fundraiser and whatever you can do for the Vietnamese and enterprises in your area, you should. And thank you very much, everybody. And please take care.